You still get plastic iron sights. What's going on, everybody? It's Timmy's Firearms YouTube channel here. I just wanted to hop in and talk a little bit about the Glock situation. For those of you who don't know, Glock just dropped their Gen 6 lineup of firearms. They will be available in the US right around mid to late January. They got the 19, the 17, and the 45, all Gen 6. There's a couple subtle upgrades that comes to the Gen 6 that we didn't see in Gen 5 or any previous generations, and I just wanted to go over a couple of those, what I think about them, what I think Glock could have done differently, and what I hope to see from Glock in the future. Before we get started, make sure to leave a like, make sure to leave a comment in the comments down below, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Also, turn on notifications so you can be notified every time I drop a video. And without further ado, let's get right into it. So I've got a couple things to say about the Glock Gen 6, and overall it is majority positive. I'm very happy with the upgrades that Glock made to the lineup of firearms that they have currently, the 17, the 19, and the 45. Currently, those are the only 3 Gen 6 models that are available in the US from what we know. I personally hope they apply the same upgrades that they did to the Gen 6 to the other slimline models like the 48 and 43X. I think that'll help them a lot. And briefly here, I'll just go over a couple of the upgrades that Glock did. That way you can see what I'm talking about when I'm referring to these upgrades. And then we can talk a little bit about what I like, what I don't like, and what I hope to see in the future. Number one, I think the biggest change that Glock did to the Gen 6 is pretty easy to see straight on, and that is the change in grip texture. The Glock Gen 5 and previous grip texture has been absolutely anemic. Personally, me, when I go to the range and my hands get even a little bit sweaty, I can't hold on to a Glock very well. That just may be a fault in the way I grip a gun. I'll accept that, but I generally prefer guns that have a little bit better grip texture. The Glock upgrade with their grip texture is absolutely amazing and necessary. They also brought up their grip texture a little higher, so if you can see, on the Glock models for the Gen 5, the grip texture stopped below the indent for your thumbs. And I believe that that was quite a blunder because my thumbs need grip too. They actually brought the grip up past that indent now. You also have a built-in thumb ledge, or gas pedal as some people may know it. It is now machined into the side of the frame of the Glock for all Gen 6 models that are currently available, and it has its own texturing as well. This is something that we see kind of like in the Ruger RXM or the Springfield Echelon. I think this is another great upgrade. It's not really something that's going to reduce a ton of recoil with your support hand, but it's a good ledge and reference point for your support hand as you're shooting it, especially because the grip angle on the Glock is a little bit different. With most guns, you think you're kind of pointing with your index fingers. With a Glock, you almost point with your thumbs, so having that ledge for your support grip is definitely important. And because it's machined into the frame, not extra material added onto the polymer, your gun will still fit from the Gen 6 into any Generation 5 holster that you have, so no sweat there. They also slightly redesigned the shape of the grip for their models to be less like a 2x4, so it does swell a little bit in the middle, and it just allows you to get a better purchase on the grip overall. You have a little bit more pronounced finger groove underneath the trigger guard to prevent some of that Glock knuckle that a lot of people get, which I think is awesome. And the last upgrade I want to talk about right now is going to be their change in the optics system. So instead of having the standard MOS or modular optics system that Glock used in their previous MOS cut models, they now have a more optic inclusive design. What do I mean by this? I just mean that they completely redesigned the slide cut in all of their Gen 6 models with a new system which doesn't have a name yet, but essentially it uses polymer puzzle pieces that lay into that optic system and allow you to mount more options for red dot footprints, so RMR, RMSC, etc. Nobody loved the MOS system. It definitely had its flaws. People were reporting a lot of screws were stripping. Definitely happy about the change in their optics mounting system for sure. It'll be interesting to see the durability on those little puzzle piece polymer almost shims that are used in order to mount different optics, but I guess we'll see in the near future. Let's really get our hands on one and get a chance to test it. Oh, and now every Glock Gen 6 comes standard with a flat face trigger, which I think is kind of cool. I prefer flat face triggers. Curved triggers aren't bad by any means. I really just think it makes the gun look a little cooler, and you still get the standard trigger shoe safety. Now let's talk about what didn't change. Still using the standard plastic magazines. You still get that kind of gritty, spongy Glock trigger. You still get plastic iron sights. I think that was a huge blunder by Glock. I would have really loved to see metal iron sights on their Gen 6 lineup. It doesn't cost a ton. They really can just put a few extra dollars into the manufacturing of the guns, and it'll really greatly increase the user experience, especially considering that most of their guns now, especially with the Gen 6, are optics ready. As far as what they did do to the Gen 6 compared to the Gen 5, I think every upgrade that they did was not necessarily needed by any means, but 100% justified. The grip texture change, in my opinion, is going to be the biggest part about that, but also the flat face trigger is really cool. Their change in the MOS system, which would have been nice a generation ago. The flat face trigger, the undercut for the finger groove underneath the trigger guard, the built-in ledge/gas pedal, and I think that we need to give credit where credit's due, because quite frankly, and I've said this before, when a gun company does something good, we need to reward them for that. My first initial thought was, wow, Glock did all these upgrades, the gun's more expensive, and now it's just on the same level that modern day $400 or $500 guns are on, like the Echelon or even the RXM, which is a Glock clone. But it's important to know that when the manufacturers do something good, we should reward them, or else they will just stop innovating all along. The Glock largely hasn't changed since Generation 1, and this is the biggest step in the right direction from Glock that I've seen personally. I think the two things that really most consumers would love to see with the Gen 6 that we didn't get was the co-witness or suppressor height sights that are not plastic, and a little bit better quality trigger. The change in trigger shoe shape being flat-faced is definitely a step in the right direction, but the actual mechanics of it are still pretty gritty and spongy from what I've seen and from what I've heard other people say. Now, a couple things that I think Glock should do on top of that I actually think they probably will do, take everything that they applied to their Gen 6 models, the 19, the 45, and the 17, and apply it to their slim frame models, like the 43X and the 48. I think that will do really well. There's a couple more things I do want to see. The main one is going to be 15-round magazines. The 43X and the 48 are inarguably amazing carry guns. The only problem is they just come with 10-round magazines from factory. Nobody wants to pay the extra $30, $40, $50 necessary to get a magazine from Shield Arms, for example, that carries the 15-round capacity. So even if Glock can't do the 15-round capacity, I'd love to see a 12 or even 13+1 capacity in the 43X to compete with some of its counterparts like the 365. Especially considering nowadays, the 365X macro and the Glock 43X are very similar in their size, but the 365X macro carries 17 rounds plus 1. And this video is not to compare Glock to other manufacturers. I'm just saying that that is an upgrade that I'd like to see more ammo capacity in the OEM Glock magazines for their slimline models. So the question would be, would I like to buy one? And the answer is absolutely yes. I think that'll be the next gun I review on this channel, is the Glock 17 Gen 6, because I think it suits the next gun that I'm looking for, which is a larger sort of like bedside or even duty gun. And I think that with the upgrades from the Generation 6, that'll definitely be a gun that I'm interested in buying. Thank you so much for watching. Please feel free to leave any questions or suggestions down in the comments down below. Make sure to leave a like on the video before you go, and subscribe to the channel with notifications to be notified every time I drop a video just like this one. Thanks so much.